Dean
live
Arnold.
stream. You guys are hearing me. That's kind of weird. But go ahead and bring this thing down now. And we'll start today's show, June 4th, episode 4. And my name is Dean Arnold. This is the Dean Arnold Podcast. I am running for Congress in the 3rd District of Tennessee. Vote for me on November 3rd. Send money to my campaign. Need money. DeanArnoldForCongress.com. You can go there and you can give. All right. Today, we're going to talk about basketball. Yeah, not every podcast can be all serious, and, that can actually kind of weigh you down over time. And so we have to talk about, I don't know if you call this lighthearted. It wasn't lighthearted for me when I was in high school. I was deadly serious, but it's not anymore. A little perspective take you a long way. I did the Facebook memories today. I do the Facebook memories every day. It's kind of fascinating, but I did one on how I didn't care for comic books when I was a kid. And one of the kind of boomer guys who didn't get the fact that I was not talking about something serious said, well, I like to eat pizza. I guess he thought he was being funny, but he didn't understand that in the modern world now, it's like, sometimes you talk about lighthearted, stupid stuff. Sometimes you talk about serious stuff. Got to mix it up a little bit. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about some lighthearted stuff, sort of, kind of. The ultimate purpose of this podcast is not right now, is for you to get to know me, for us to have a relationship. I'm trying to be a trusted voice in your life so that we have something better than CNN and Fox to listen to every day. I'm also trying to bring sanity to an insane world, one of my mottos. So here you go. We're going to talk about basketball today. What else do I need to tell you about? Podcast daily. Those are my notes there. Yeah. So I've talked about everything. Before we get into basketball, let's do our really important daily stuff. I think there's something going on in Iran, maybe something going on in Ukraine. I forget. There's some guy named Donald somewhere like near DC. They talk about him a lot. We'll get to all that eventually. By the way, I had two people yesterday on the golf course when they found out I was running for Congress. They're like, "You supporting Trump?" I'm like, "No, I'm off the Trump train. Voted for him 3 times, but I'm off the Trump train now." And both of them quickly said, "Then I'll vote for you." So I guess the poll numbers are true that Trump's numbers are way, way down. And there may be a great big wave to vote something besides Republican in the midterm elections. And, so a lot of people are going to vote Democrat. But in my district, which is like 70% Republican, people are, they're not going to vote Democrat. They might vote independent. And I'm the 3rd person on the ballot because my name is Arnold, Dean Arnold. Oh, by the way, someone suggested that I change the logo from bottom, I think it was in the bottom left to top left. So I did that. And if you want to let me know in the comments what you think about that, that would just be nifty. Please comment or ask questions. I'm checking them right now and I haven't got anything yet, but you never know. Okay. Here we go. Oh, no. Live viewer comments show up. Yeah, no, I don't got any comments yet. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the more important daily things, not Trump, Ukraine, and Iran, but the scripture passages of the day. There's a epistle and a gospel epistle passage. So let me share screen and we'll go to the scripture readings. Okay. So there it is. Today's epistle reading is Romans chapter 1. Yesterday we did the first part of Romans chapter 1, which was a killer, talking about how God is really, really mad at sodomites. But this is the later part of Romans 1, so it's not going to be quite as bad, but it still ain't good. But let's read what we got here. Even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a debased mind to do things which are not fitting, being filled with all righteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil mindedness. They are whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, violent, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, and unmerciful. Okay, we're not going to read the whole thing. I guess I promised that it was going to be a lighthearted podcast today. Oh, well. Couple of things, the men here. Inventors of evil things, and there in verse 30. Other translations say they think of ways to do evil, or they invent ways of doing evil. I find that fascinating. So when you get into the really, really serious evildoers, they're sitting around thinking of ways to do evil. I think of like in the Bolshevik Revolution, when the Bolsheviks were killing Christians by the millions, they would like put like someone's head in a cage, and then they would put a bunch of rats in there, and they'd put candy or something on the person's head, and then the rats would eat out the person's face. This is the lighthearted podcast. Stuff like that is like inventing ways of doing evil, and they're out there. If you get deep down the rabbit hole with COVID and the vaccine, quote unquote, and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of weird shenanigans going on. Personally, I think the vaccine causes infertility, but that's inventing ways of doing evil. They might think they're doing good by depopulating the planet, but there's actually people who will invent ways of doing evil, even if there's no, in their mind, a purpose to it. They're just freaking evil. We got to oppose them with Jesus Christ. Okay. One other thing to say about this passage is one of the things in the long list of bad, evil things is disobedient to parents. Whew. We don't talk about that enough in our culture, but we need to. Got to respect those parents. Not easy all the time, but do your best. Okay, let's see if we can move over to the next passage on the calendar today. Looks like we can. It's Matthew. It's the famous passage in the Sermon on the Mount where he says, you say, thou shalt not commit adultery, but I say, anybody who looks at a woman with lust in his heart has already committed adultery. Cast out your right eye if it causes you to sin. Cut off your right hand if it causes you to sin. That sort of thing. So that's an interesting passage. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that today, other than say that, the Sermon on the Mount's got some interesting things. Do not judge lest you be judged. And what are some other ones that get confused? Judge not. You can't take the whole thing literally all the time. He's not literally saying cut off your right hand. He's not literally saying pluck out your right eye. And he's not literally saying do not judge ever. We have to judge all the time. We judge like every minute of the day. If you're speaking words, you're actually judging, because your words delineate between one thing and the other. When there's passages in the New Testament and Galatians and stuff where Paul says, we decided to judge him. The church laid judgment on someone and excommunicated him. So you got to figure it all out. That's why we have the church fathers, and so that's why we have church tradition to help us sort through all this stuff, because some yahoo will just shout, judge not lest you be judged. It requires a little more reflection. Meanwhile, don't judge. We can talk about that later, but Jesus kind of clarifies. He said, don't call your brother a fool, and don't condemn your brother. We can say that someone is in sin and he needs to leave that, or his soul's in jeopardy, out of love, without saying, I hate you, I condemn you, and I want you to go to hell. Well, that's judging, and we're not supposed to do that. That's something left for God, and he has decided to forego that kind of judgment until the end. So it's always looking for people to repent. Apparently that's the game, hoping that people will come into repentance. All right, enough for today's lighthearted podcast. Saint of the day. Let's see if Let's see if I can get there right now. I think I can. Lives of the Saints. And we're going to go to Saint Metrophanes, Patriarch of Constantinople. No big deal. But basically, Constantine the Great, okay, he turns the Roman Empire into a Christian empire. And he calls together all the bishops all across the world. Like some of them actually had were missing an eye or an arm because of the Roman persecutions. So they came together with the Council of Nicaea that was called by Constantine the Great to determine that Jesus Christ was indeed fully God, because there was a heretic named Arius who was trying to say he was really, 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 really good, but he wasn't actually God. And that was a great heresy. So they got together to figure all that out. Well, during that time, Metrophanes was a bishop, and he was ordained by a guy named Titus. And he was at the council, and he, got to know the emperor, and eventually Constantine decided to make Metrophanes a patriarch, not just a bishop. So we had a patriarch in Jerusalem, Antioch, Alexandria, Rome. Those were the first four patriarchs. The first patriarchate was in Jerusalem. Let me go ahead and get out of this so I can talk about this with a little bit of there we go. There we go. Jerusalem was where the church first met. Obviously, we had this Council of Jerusalem in Acts 15, where they got rid of all the Jewish laws, particularly circumcision. Christian Zionists don't like to talk about that today, but it is true, true, true. Then the Christians, as it famously says in Acts, moved to Antioch when we're first called Christians. And then things moved to Alexandria because that was a big academic center in the world at that point. And then it moved to Rome. And darn, we're not still lit. So there was four patriarchates. That was the first. And then now we're in the 4th century, beginning of the 4th century. And thank you for bearing with me. And in the 4th century, Constantine decides he wants to have a 5th patriarch. So he makes Metrophanes the 5th patriarch. And all those patriarchs still exist today. Sure enough, they do. One of them's the Pope, and we're in schism with him, and that's a podcast for another day. But Bishop Metrophanes of Smyrna is a different one. But this Metrophanes, Saint Metrophanes, first patriarch of Constantinople, right-hand man of Constantine the Great, and he is commemorated today. That's all we're going to talk about with that. All right, let's get to the basketball thing. Okay, basketball. Okay. So I grow up in this basketball household. Man, oh man, I can't get away from it. It is what it is. Okay, so I gotta stop the screen there, and I'm gonna show you some more picky picks. Okay, I gotta go to window. So here we go. Maybe it did. Yeah, there you go. So I grew up in a basketball household. My dad, who was a preacher, 6'4", big, probably should have been a football coach or a general, but he decided to become a preacher. He was good at what he did, but he was not your average preacher. But he played basketball at UCLA for a coach named John Wooden. So I'm growing up as a kid, and a little kid, and people say to, "Oh, your dad played for John Wooden at UCLA." I'm like, "Yeah, what are you talking about? What does that even mean?" I think UCLA is a college. I think I get that, but who's John Wooden and why do I care? Well, later on in life, I find out that John Wooden was probably the greatest college basketball coach ever. and by many people's account, the greatest uh, coach of any kind ever. He won like 10 championships in a row at UCLA. First, he just had some regular old yahoos kind of short, and they won the first two or three of them. And then the rest of them he won with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was then called Lou Alcindor, and also Bill Walton after that. But the last one had neither of those guys. He had a guy named, can't remember his name, but he didn't do much in the pros. Anyway, Wooden was a great coach. Fundamentals, character, truth, hard work, all these things. So I grew up with that, and I grew up with the whole basketball thing. This is John Wooden right here. He's got a little note to my dad. To Jack Arnold, a fellow Christian and one of my boys, with love, John Wooden. And then the picture below that, which maybe you can see, maybe you can't. I'm not going to try to make it bigger or I'm going to screw everything up. But that's me in the blue shirt on the right with John Wooden just below me, my dad, my brother Mark. And we're visiting him in his condo in LA. And that was a fun day. Anyway, so I grew up. All my brothers play basketball. My dad's playing in the church league and yelling at the refs. I'm playing bitty league, little league, junior high, high school. Played a lot of basketball, and I'm happy. I'm glad for it. Probably been better off playing golf, but I played basketball. And there's a picture of me on the far right dribbling a basketball in my high school uniform. In the top right is a picture of me. I was all city in junior high school, middle school. And that's a picture of me with all the other all city players in the city. There is a cheat code to know which one is me. What is the cheat code? Yes, I'm the only white guy. Anyway, played basketball in high school. Had a really good experience my 10th grade year. We had an assistant coach. Well, the coach of the JV was Woody Deans, and he was the assistant coach for the high school. And he was kind of the little small kind of, run of the litter little guy, because our head coach was a big, tall, like 6'8" guy. But he was great, man. He was brilliant, man. He had the disciplines and the fundamentals down, and he had the right strategies, and he was an excellent coach. And we won our championship that year in 10th grade. Then I moved on to 11th grade, sat the bench the entire time. That was a good lesson to learn. And then played my senior year, started the first 7 games, tied the school record in steals in one of the games, but then I struggled. I was really a point guard, but we had another guy who was really a better point guard. So I had to play 2 guard, and I really didn't shoot that well. And that and other complications kind of led me. I ended up sitting the bench the rest of the year. So I had a bad experience. But I got to sit the bench with my main man, Kev Beasley, the other white guy on the team. And we sat the bench the whole year together, and we learned a lot of things. Let's talk a little about that. One of the things about my public high school experience, there we go, in general, but definitely on steroids, being on the basketball team, is, I really learned to interact and get to know the African-American community. And they're different, good and bad, just like me. I love them. But Kef and I certainly learned about that. You're traveling on like 2-hour road trips all the time in the bus and hanging out with these guys, and you learn a lot. Definitely one poignant detail to share is that I think it was in our 11th grade year. Might have been 10th grade, 11th grade. Let's go with 11th. Michael Jackson came out with the Off the Wall, On the Wall, Off the Wall album. And those guys would play that thing on a boombox on looped. There probably wasn't a loop button. They just looped it themselves. And particularly the song, I Want to Rock With You All Night. That was we probably listened to that 20 times a day for like every day for like 4 months. Just one detail. Let me pull the big screen here. So that's just kind of one detail of how I got pretty exposed to the African American experience, and I'm thankful for that. I probably, if you pressed me as a conservative, I probably don't believe in integrating schools. I think there was better ways that would have been better for everybody. Nevertheless, my personal experience is because of integration, I got to know a lot of African Americans going to school, and I'm a better person for it. So there's that, and there's that with basketball. I got some more things to say about this. Let me see if I can bring it up. There we go. I was a UVA fan. I was an ACC fan. People who care about that. So talk about the African American thing. Bear with me, guys. I'm not getting the cigar lid. This is a cigar that's a gift from Kevin Kettenring yesterday, and he gave me this cigar. We did St. Kevin yesterday, part to honor Kevin, but this cigar he gave me was actually very hard to obtain, so I really appreciate him getting this for me. Okay. So basketball was a good experience because it taught me a lot about the African American community, which I really do appreciate. Discipline. I mean, any team sport or sport in general, you learn discipline. You got to do wind sprints out there during practice, and if you got a hardcore coach, man, it can get pretty cool. If you think that's cool. You learn strategy and working together with your teammates. Hours and hours in the gym. It was all good, and I'm appreciative of it. Now, I will say this. Now I knew there was a reason that I kept this up here, and that is for this picture right here. So in high school, I was also a trumpet player. And in 10th grade, after 10th grade in my high school, you had to either choose to continue on with basketball or band. You couldn't do both. It was bad policy, but I was a victim of it. And I was first chair all state as a 10th grader. And I was pretty good. So it was unfortunate that I had to give that up, but I did. I played basketball instead. Now, shout out to a couple people. Mark Carper might be listening to this podcast eventually. Mark was also a trumpet player at my school, and he was actually better than I was, even though I was first chair. And then in middle school, Synovia Cummins was better than I was, even though I was going to all these all-state things. So just because you're winning acclamations doesn't mean you're the best one around. All right, so had to choose for basketball instead of band, and that was too bad. I probably would have been better off doing band because long-term music is going to have a better impact on your life than sports like basketball. Now, golf, maybe that's a different story. But the silver lining is I had such a bad experience in high school with basketball that I did not play in college. I was offered a small scholarship at my college, Covenant College, even though I probably wasn't good enough for it, but whatever. But I turned it down. I was like, I'm done with basketball. I'm just going to be a regular person. So I went to the small liberal arts college. I got involved in this strange group of guys. I think I'll do a separate podcast on it called The Ghetto. But a bunch of really talented, like artistic, musical, comedian kind of guys really shaped my life. And in college, I actually really dove into the studies and got involved in actually trying to learn things, philosophy and theology and the Bible and the truth and all that kind of stuff. And, I was also involved in drama and brass choir and, all sorts of things, visiting old folks' homes and all kind of things. I had a really, really full-orbed college experience because in large part, I chose not to play basketball where you're going to spend 4 hours a day in a gym and you're going to be hanging around jocks all the time. I mean, jocks are great, but boy, they're kind of one-dimensional. So that was the silver lining of my bad basketball experience was I didn't play basketball in college. I think I'm wrapping things up here. Let me look at my little list and see if there's anything I've left out. I don't think so. So today was oh yeah, one more thing. So am I still involved with basketball? Hardly. But I do sports. I mean, I do a little bit of NBA. And why is that? Well, let me see if I can bring it up here. So I'll stop that one. I'll share the screen. Sorry about this, you guys. But here we go. Right here. See this? Pacers Digest. Well, you can't really see that, can you? All right, someone's trying to call me. Not right now, folks. Sorry about that. So this thing right here called Pacers Digest. Can you believe that? Telemarketer right in the middle of my big show here. Not happy about that. All righty. Well, you guys can't see it. It says Pacers Digest. You have to trust me on that. Stop sharing. Come back to here. Let's get rid of this so I can see what I'm doing. So I kind of stopped. I kind of dropped sports in general. I watched the 4 major championships on golf during the year. And then the only other thing I still watch, I don't watch the March Madness anymore. Basically can't stand basketball anymore because of the 3-point shot. That took away all the creativity in the game, the whole mid-range thing. All they do is either shoot a 3 or they drive the basket, and that's all they do. It's really boring. Can't stand college basketball. I really can't stand the NBA because of that, but I did get hooked in 1994. I caught a couple of NBA playoff games on TV with the Indiana Pacers. Most people don't follow this kind of stuff, so they don't know what the heck I'm talking about. But some of you know who Reggie Miller is. He's a big 3-point guy, and he played for them. Spike Lee, he got into a confrontation with Spike Lee. He was a big media phenomenon, and that's what people follow. Anyway, I was watching the Indiana Pacers, and man, they played some good basketball. They played what we say the right way. They played with fundamentals, good defense, good strategy, good passing, good assists, hard work, hustle, rebounds, boxing out. I was just so impressed. And so I just kept watching the Indiana Pacers whenever I could, which wasn't very often because back then, once in a while you got a playoff game on one of the 3 networks. But anyway, I did try to watch when I could. And I found out eventually that I wasn't so much a Pacers fan. I was a fan of their coach, Larry Brown, who was only their coach for like 3 years, 2 years, maybe into after I started following them. And Larry Brown was a UCLA product. It all comes back to John Wooden, who was a very good Christian man, by the way, and one of the few men my dad respected. Even though he probably had some theological things my dad disagreed with, which is an interesting thing to think about. I'll maybe get into that another day. Larry Brown was a John Wooden product. And then I found this website on the internet. The internet just started to come into being right about that time. And I found this website. I don't think it was called Pacers Digest back then, but maybe it was. But anyway, they're talking about the Pacers. And eventually, Larry Brown's not the coach anymore, but I'm still following the Pacers because I got really involved in this website, this forum that all it talks about is the Indiana Pacers. The soap opera was just so good, but the contributors on this website were just fantastic. They were insightful, they were funny, and they were great writers. I'm a professional writer for a living, and some of these guys were just much better writers than I was. So I really got into the soap opera of the Pacers and following these contributors, and that was a lot of fun. So I've basically visited that website every day for the last 30 years. I mean, get a life, Dean. But this is me. This is my product. This is my heritage. This is what I do. So I still watch the NBA a little bit. I particularly watch Pacers games. And last night was game 1 of the NBA Finals. I did watch that. And so I do have some interest in it, but it's waning because of the 3-point line. Maybe because of the gambling influence now. That's kind of just really weird and dark. All right, let's light one more time. And then I think I'll wrap it up. But so that's today's podcast. A little lighter. Basketball was a big part of my life. And I'm thankful for my opportunity to get involved with those things. Had a post on Facebook about a couple weeks ago. I actually saw Dr. J play in my hometown of Roanoke, Virginia, because his first team was the Virginia Squires. And so that was a lot of fun. And then I was a UVA fan, and I watched a lot of Jeff Lamp, Lee Raker. Anybody know who I'm talking about? Ralph Sampson then became a part of the UVA team. A lot of people know who that is. And whatever. All right, I'm going to try to sign out of here. Let's see how we do. You, Dean Arnold. I'm not good. Okay. A little bit.